Okay, next three that was here last night.
About time, it's 7:45, man.
Oh, get in here.
The abuse really didn't start until I was in my mid-teens. When you're abused as a child, it will follow you in relationships, in marriages, because it's difficult to forgive somebody that abused you. That is one of the most difficult things you can do, especially if they sexually abused you. And I did forgive them. I married into a wealthy family. And when I didn't have that kind of money, so there was a lot of friction about the in-laws, the mother-in-law, father-in-law, about wanting their money. That never even crossed my mind. The marriage ended. I partied hard and drank hard. And I got bacterial meningitis. For over 3 weeks, had 105 temperature. They couldn't bring my temperature down. I lost 100 pounds in less than 2 months. And I lost 70% of my brain function, long-term, short-term. I asked God to take my life, either make me well or take me now. When people die, you cross over into a tunnel. And I went through the tunnel to the other side. There was a figure, and it was God, and he had his hand reached out to me. And I had mine, but he wouldn't allow me to touch him. And he spoke to me, David, you've been through a lot, and you can help a lot of people, but you got to make one promise to me. If you make this promise to me, I'm going to send people to help you, for you to help. Never turn anyone away. And I made that promise and came back and started the process of healing, which took 4 years. There was an 18-month window where you can get better or stay the same. So the doctors told me that I had to read, keep your mind active. So I read, and I got in the Bible and read everything in it over and over and over, and read everything. And prayed a lot and asked God to heal me. And he did. The very thing that abused you, God uses to heal you.
I've known David probably 3 years. In the beginning, he didn't say much about his past life. We didn't really know much about his upbringing or his family or anything else. He just presented a very intact kind of face. He's always been very helpful, though. And I remember one time we had a medical emergency, and and we were struggling to get somebody into the shelter who had collapsed outside. And the person who was right next to me was David, and I was really impressed by his medical skills. And later he told me that he had worked in a group home, but I'd probably known him 6 months, and I didn't know that about him.
When I was younger, I had 2 or 3 things I wanted to do, but I don't look like I'm going to be able to do either one of them now. One was either going to the police department. I can't do that no more. And the other was try to go through the Army training and get some job through the Army. Most of the time, I wouldn't make enough hardly but to buy a pack of cigarettes during the week. And put a little bit of groceries or pay a little bit of the bills where I was staying at, which I did help do. I helped pay the rent when I could, help pay the electric or the water. I was thankful for what I had, but I did want to get back on my own 2 legs and get on my own 2 feet. The last friend I lived with, because I paid it, because I couldn't come up with no money to pay the bills. I just told him, let me save what I got left. Take me back to where I grew up. I'll put something in your tank. Take me to Pontiac. Dropped off in Pontiac, right down the street, and told to go down the street. There's a shelter down the street. Go check on it. And what am I going to do now? Where am I going to go? How am I going to do anything? That's how I thought. Thank God I get to go to sleep, someplace warm, instead of outside. Yes, I thought this was a temporary place. I don't want to be in this predicament all my life. I don't know about anybody else, but I don't want to be. I want to be back outside, back working, back getting my life straight in order.
So Will is one of the younger men in the shelter, and when he came here, he was very, very guarded. His answers were pretty much one-word answers. He really didn't engage in conversation, and even though he developed friendships within the shelter, he was a little bit wary of the staff. And it took a while for us to be able to engage him. He would do anything for any of us here if we asked him, and he certainly is involved with helping to clean the shelter, helping to work with volunteers. He was one of the ones that helped lay the floor downstairs too in the dining room, and was really excited about being able to be part of that process. Will is actually a natural leader, and I don't think he realized that or recognized that that was even a possibility in his life.
So the only place was to come here to hope. Separated myself while I was here. I didn't stay with anybody else. I didn't make too many friends. My sanctuary was Great Lakes Crossing, and that's where I stayed and walked, because at that time I was walking 25 to 35 miles a day, 7 days a week. And I would walk in the mall and then walk back here at night. So that was the time for me to talk to God. I'm always seeking His guidance and instruction. God showed me my ministry in a vision, wide awake walking down Baldwin to Great Lakes. Showed me the church, showed me preaching in front of thousands of people. God asked me one question: my son, if I asked you to build a church, would you? It's all about the vision. Feeding people, clothing them, and giving them jobs, and paying them very well. I have been severely tested. And the tests are dictated by the vision, and it's going to be decided whether you pass the test or not. And I've come this far and I passed them.
Dave comes in and shares his vision on a regular basis. He's very committed to helping people who don't have anything achieve something with their lives. He really feels that God is giving him some direct messages and putting him in the homeless state to make sure that he does do God's work.
Keeping a place, keeping a good job, or I should say average job, not good job, and keeping an average maintained vehicle. And maybe a little room in there for somebody else. The only thing I can't do is try and accomplish getting the apartment until I get a job. Been to many interviews and not got no hiring. And how do they expect a homeless guy to pay his first month's rent and a security deposit? That's what I'm trying to figure out. What I do is I keep trying and keep looking a day, one day at a time, keep trying every day. I go do something to accomplish something.
When he does trust and when he does let you in, and when you get him challenged, he actually rises to the challenge and way beyond and just thrives.
With this place being closed, I had nowhere to go, so it caused me to go into sleeping outside. I picked out a place and there was a cardboard box, so I slept in that behind a dumpster for 20 days.
I'd sleep where I couldn't be seen. And I'd move from place to place during the day. Every week on Thursday. Come in, get a bag lunch, take a shower, get a change of clothes. I want to get a degree in something. Either heavy machine mechanics, diesel mechanics, or auto mechanics. Or if the welding, if that's an option.
God doesn't see us how we see ourselves. He sees us already completed.
If you would talk to most of the people here, they don't want to be living in a shelter. They want homes of their own. That's why they do have hope, and that's why every day when they get up, they hope that this is the day when they get a home, that this is the day that they're going to go somewhere and they're going to get that great job. And every day they get up, and a lot of times they get discouraged, but they form a community and they lift each other's spirits.
You have to see yourself as God sees you. And that right there solves a lot of problems. And you always have to understand that God has your best interest at hand.